Hi, my dear Astro family. Today we are going to be talking about the Chiron and North Node conjunction, which is going to be taking place in 2024 at the beginning of the year. So I have been preparing material for you for 2024 way in advance because I would like you to get prepared. This is not the most difficult year overall, but we've got some prominent configurations in the sky. And I thought I would prepare you and break it down for you what it might mean. And I'm also going to be breaking down with a couple of sentences for each sign as well. Now, if you don't mind, then I would like to announce that I will be making a course on purely progressions purely on progressions. So we're going to be learning about what primary directions, secondary progressions, solar arc, as well as tertiary progressions mean, how to use them in your chart, how to predict with these. So if you are interested, then you can see the link in the description box below. And the second one is that because we are talking about Chiron and North Node, do not forget to check out the North Node video I made in the sign of Aries and Libra, just because that's going to be helping you to understand where the focus is going to be in 2024. But if you would like to learn a little bit more about Chiron, then I have got a three-part series lecture on Chiron, and you can buy it as a package on 25% discount in the upcoming 7 days on the website. And then if you are interested, get those webinars so you can learn more about Chiron. But let's get started with Chiron and North Node conjunction. Now, the North Node in Aries conjunction to Chiron will be happening on 16 degree of Aries. It's going to get exact on the 19th of February 2024. But I believe we're going to start feeling it a lot earlier just because obviously the nodes have shifted into the sign of Aries and Libra already. And then when they are within about 10 degrees from each other, I feel like it's going to be felt by every single of us. Now, we in the previous lecture, which I prepared for you a couple of weeks ago, you know what? I explained what North Node is. Just to summarize on that, the North Node is basically an evolutionary process, an area of life where we need to focus a little bit more and we need to get aligned with our destiny as well. Now, Chiron is something which is very fascinating in the astrological community. Everyone has got their opinion about it. So have I. But I tend to be looking at Chiron as the conditioning, what we have experienced or we are experiencing by society, culture, parental influence, and so forth. So Chiron is orbiting between Saturn and Uranus, and Saturn is still a personal planet, while Uranus is a impersonal planet. So it's pretty much like the 3D world and your own imagination. And pretty much this is the here and beyond. What we see right in front of us and what is beyond as well. I feel like Chiron, by the way, who is a half an animal and half a human, so it does indicate that with Chiron placement, we need to embrace both the human consciousness and the animal instinct as well. And what is animal instinct? It's about survival, self-preservation, and it's in the sign of Aries, which is also something to do with self-preservation. So, by the way, Chiron was the son of a Saturn and Phileria. The woman asked the gods to take his son away as she could not accept how ugly her child was. So, Chiron can represent things like not being accepted, receiving rejections, and often actually parenting issues as well. So, Chiron was raised by Apollo and Pallas eventually, and they taught him art, music, medicine, and also he became a clairvoyant as well. So he's got this spiritual, artistic ability, which people tend to be forgetting about. So some of the keywords what comes with Chiron is about acceptance, trauma. Imagine that your parents abandon you. Obviously, it's going to be a traumatic experience for you, and it's going to be creating some wounds on your soul. So it represents wounds, but can talk to you about diseases, your immune system, and of course, pain as well. But then he discovered his path, and then he became a mentor. He became pretty much of a healer. That's why we call Chiron as the wounded healer. He was unable to heal his own wounds, but he was able to heal other people's wounds. And Chiron had to realize, you know what, instead of me hating myself, practicing self-hatred basically because of my look and appearance, you know what, it doesn't mean that I do not have special skills. So, by the way, Chiron can easily represent those domestications of animals as well. Chiron is also a keeper of ancient routines, can talk to you about animal welfare, by the way, or the wisdom what we have got at hand, but it's not always a visible wisdom. And by the way, it could also represent refugees as well. Now, Chiron has got a very interesting orb. So, for example, it spends 8 years in the sign of Aries, but less than 2 years in the sign of Libra. So what it means is that 66.5% of the conjunctions happens actually between Pisces and Taurus. I mean, the Chiron returns. And so those people who have got, let's say, Chiron somewhere in a Virgo, Scorpio, or Libra, their Chiron was moving there pretty fast. It's only 2.5% which happen in the sign of Libra or Virgo. But also Chiron represents anything to do with herbs, so herbology, wounds around the childhood, but often actually it is about infertility, the circumstances around birth, what type of conditioning and pre-ideas we were born with. You know what? There are two types of wounds. One we had as a child, and that's what we call in psychology as a primary wound. And then one we receive as an adult. So the primal wounds are the result of violation, for example, in early life, that resulted in a feeling of non-being. Feeling of non-being tends to show up in the form of loneliness, frustration, betrayal, or you isolate yourself, or you feel ashamed about something. Chiron is the planet of shame as well, alongside with Uranus, by the way. And then we've got, kind of like Chiron always invites us to do a little bit of a psychological investigation, to turn inwards, to understand our greater pain. But also, it tells you wherever it is placed in your chart by house position and sign position, that's the way how you can also heal yourself. Also in psychology, we call it as the repetition compulsion with Chiron. And the repetition compulsion is basically a trauma reenactment. So it involves repeating physically or emotionally painful situation that happened in the past. Now, it is going to be connecting with North Node. So we are meant to be discovering this pain. We are discovering these past traumas, or we need to be reliving them. So therefore, of course, as usual, it's very important to look at Chiron's historical journey, what it was doing previously. For example, if someone had a early childhood trauma in regards to violence, they are most likely to experience violence in their adulthood as well. To give you a couple of examples here, imagine that you were beaten up as a child, and you are going to be choosing kind of like a detachment style as a coping mechanism. And it means that you have got issues of getting engaged with your own feelings or to feel other people's feelings. But the other one is the familiarity, when someone who grew up in a distant family might be looking for a partner who is also distant in the relationship. Or it can come in the picture of self-hatred. And subconsciously, you feel that you deserve mistreatment. So guess what? You are going to be attracting people who are mistreating you. And also it can come as an abandonment where you're going to be clinging to a past relationship. You become possessive because you want to avoid any type of rejections in future relationships, right? So then obviously these are getting triggered. These are some emotional traumatic experiences which get triggered for you. And then maybe the result is that you're going to become angry as a child, as an adult, right? Because as a child you were neglected, or you're going to have this fear motivated behavior. Like imagine that you had sexual abuse in your childhood, and that leads you to become, let's say, a prostitution, because prostitution is something which is controlling the opposite sex. So I'm not a victim anymore. So this North Node and Chiron conjunction is pretty much about discovering what is behind your trauma. It is going to be a reminder for you that it needs to be dealt with, and so through certain type of um, actions. You know, the sign placement usually describes a specific wound that might be causing some recurring issues for you, themes and problems. So, because Chiron spends the most amount of time in Aries, and probably there is a need for that, right? Because Aries is about the self, pretty much. It's about your hero's journey. So, we need to do a lot more healing there than in other signs, for example. So, in the sign of Aries, just think about something to heal there. So this is what we're going to be discovering in this a little bit more. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? So it's about being courageous, being energetic, being pioneering, being able to stand up for yourself. This is a sign which is ruled by Mars, the planet of wars and the planet of the warrior, basically. So it's about taking charge. So this North Node Chiron conjunction will teach us to be in charge, to be in the driving seat of our life. And you know what? Taking charge when it comes to your primary wounds, because you are the one who can actually heal them. And yes, it can come with some challenges, of course, because Aries can also represent the ego and the identity. It's kind of like a little bit of an identity crisis. I don't know who I am. I don't know who my partner is. I don't know what I can put into the relationship. I don't know if I'm giving enough, I'm giving too much, how much I receive in return. So this Chiron North Node conjunction in the sign of Aries is very much about sometimes struggle to express who we are, struggling to express our feelings. And that's where we're going to have to do a bit of healing. But in order for you to win, you're going to have to acknowledge the pain. You're going to have to take initiatives and you're going to have to do something about it. Otherwise, it's not going to be working. So some of the dates which you might want to remember in regards to Chiron. First of all, Chiron, went into the sign of Aries. Um, okay, what happened here? Oh, sorry. Chiron went into the sign of Aries in 2018, April 17th. But then it went retrograde, so it went back into the sign of Pisces around September 2018, and then it went into the sign of Aries completely 2019, February 18th. Now, Chiron will remain there till about June 19th, 2026. But again, it's going to go retrograde, going to go back into the sign of Aries, September 17th, 2026, and finally leaves April 14th, 2027. So these are some of the important dates what you want to remember when you are looking at historically, because Aries is always about a call to action. So the last time Chiron was in the sign of Aries was from 1968 to 1977, and then beforehand it was 1918 to 1927. So you know what? Aries is hot, it's impatient, it doesn't always have got the manners when it comes to dealing with issues because it's too fiery, too impatient. You know what? It's kind of like imagine when it comes to the wound. And then, you don't want to wait for the wound to kind of heal itself. You just keep ripping it off, the cover of it. And of course, it can get infected. So one of the big one here is that be a little bit patient with your wounds. Don't force them too quickly because it can be way too, hurtful as well. But then Aries says, oh, no, 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 I have to fix it now. There is no other way. This is the reason why we have got this such a longer period for Aries Chiron section because, it takes longer to accept, especially for Aries, that you know what, we are all psychologically somehow managed. Now, when we look at what was going on in 1968, then, for example, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And there were some discrimination act and discrimination going on in the US. Then when we look at the 1918 period, obviously we had a world war going on, as well as we had pandemics coming around, the Spanish flu, and therefore basically loads of people were killed around that. So we had some major events going down during those periods, and not to mention when it comes to the civil rights movements. Uh, Obviously, there's feminism, the rise of feminism going on as well. That was coupled also with Aries, the asteroid of Aries as well, where the women were fighting for the rights to be able to vote, to wear whatever they wanted, and so forth. So I feel like one of the biggest keywords here with Chiron in the sign of Aries, coupled with North, acknowledge your pain, acknowledge your wounds, and make sure you start working on them slowly but surely. And we have got the South Node in the sign of Libra. So, you know what, instead of walking away from Libra, this can be coupled not just by the inner work, what you do within yourself, but actually being able to ask for help as well at the same time. So as I said, Chiron went into the sign of Aries in 2018. So it's good to be looking back what was going on in 2018, right? So look that up. But what I was thinking is that in 2018, the uh, all of a sudden, because Aries is about cutting and it's about identity, Chiron is our personal image, and we are not happy about our personal image, right? We kind of feel like crippled. I feel like the plastic surgery industry started significantly growing, right? So this North Node Chiron conjunction could talk to us about what's the point going under a knife, getting certain bits done when actually we are not healed inside. So there is always a little bit of an internal work to be done because our body image is going to be changing with that. So this could be something to kind of think about. Also, definitely, I mean, Aries is a sexual sign, but something to do with genderism could be a major question here. Or as in sex, as in intimacy departments. Obviously, Aries, one of the challenges of Aries is that I'm doing just fine on my own. But at the same time, with these nodal changes, what can come up with there, you know what, I'm good enough. That would be the Aries North Node. Learning that's, I'm confident about who I am. But then the Libra South Node says, ooh, the society expects to me to look in a different way, for example. So I want to be someone else instead. So Chiron wants to teach us here to accept the way we look like, the way we actually portray our personality. And it tells you that, you know what, it is okay to be whoever I want to be. We don't need the approval of others. And that's the Libra element there, because we are always seeing ourselves in the mirror or in the reflection of others. So, to summarize on that, this is the identity wound. We are dissatisfied with who we are. And of course, we want a little bit more and more and more all the time. But if you think about the Mars journey, which is the first planet who has got the ability to oppose the sun, so therefore we associate sometimes Mars with the hero's journey, who is leaving the kingdom behind to go on an adventure, to gain experience, and then to return eventually and returning and getting married with the princess and settling down and opening up a business and pretty much being successful. So I feel like this Aries Chiron is also telling you that sometimes you need this out of body experience where you just start looking at yourself from other people's perspective. And then you're going to see maybe a couple of, like brown colors somewhere around your body or around your aura. And you realize, oh, that's where there is a bit of an issue going on in my life. Another big topic here is me versus others, right? So that's why we call the Aries and the Libra axis as the axis of war, because obviously you have got your own agenda, other people's have got their own agenda, and then when those are not coming together, then obviously people will fight over that. And that's one of the reasons why, unfortunately, this Chiron North Node conjunction could talk about, for example, refugee matters, surely. I mean, North Node can be a foreigner influence as well, alongside with Chiron rules refugees. So that's a very possible topic from a mundane point of view. But also that people want to be expressing their uniqueness somehow. So therefore, they might decide that, you know what, I had enough, right? So also Aries could talk to us about, I don't want to come across weak and vulnerable. I want to win. So there is this winning mindset here. Obviously, with Chiron, we're gonna have to heal that winning mindset because there is a little bit of a pessimism going on there. So knowing that, you know what, I am worth it, I am able to do this. And Aries is about entitlement. So this is telling you at the same time that, you know what, you are entitled you have got your rights, basically. Just like the baby, the Aries is the first 18 months of our life. And the baby is very dependent on their mom. And the way they communicate is screaming, crying, and so forth until they get what they want. So, and eventually the mom is going to pay attention, right? If the mommy didn't pay attention, that's going to be a major primary painful wound for the child, right? Because straight away we have got a disappointment from the most important person in our life. You know what? Let's be frank. No one has got a clear confidence within themselves. So we all have got to do that, right? And Aries, is the very first 18 months of our life where we start building our little personality. But of course, we are getting influenced by our parents, especially, right? So we start copying them and we do certain things, what they require us. So that's why sometimes an Aries person becomes a people pleaser because they were told or they were taught to do that. So with Chiron, which is also can be the representation of mental health in a very angry sign, So we might see that, you know what, those people who are struggling with mental health gonna get very frustrated, very angry. You're gonna have to think about where these mental health problems are coming from. Do you feel that you are not worthy? Do you feel that you are not good enough? Do you feel that you should be someone else? Do you feel that you have got difficulties of getting in touch with your own feelings? Because Chiron is very internal. Chiron, you know, eventually realized their path, right? And his path was to heal others while he was going through a major pain. So here, by helping others to heal, you're also going to be healing one of your side as well, which could be one of your biggest achievements. And that leads to success. And maybe it's about looking at a role model as well, who is healing themselves. That's why Aries rules anything to do with, you know, what it rules sports and activities and the go-getter nature of it, right? And boosting the physical strength, because boosting the physical strength will change your image as well as your emotional strength as well at the same time. So Chiron is not just about wounds, but it's about your gift as well. Chiron can be used in professional astrology. If you have got a prominent Chiron, Chiron, by the way, was an astrologer also, not just a spiritual healer. A Chiron position can show you how to turn that around and make it work for you, and eventually, kind of like a vocational asteroid overall. So I would be, I would be considering if there is a possibility to choose to be on a healing journey, maybe a retreat or something like that, doing some inner child workshop, shamanic workshop, shadow works, family constellation therapies, and all this type of stuff. Then this February could be a big one for you. And you might want to be scheduling that for yourself. So I also feel like that Aries, because it has got the survival needs, and then what it does is that, you know what, when it feels like the territory is not, then it's gonna go and then try to conquer other territories. That's why it pretty much rules war. But it comes out of survival because we do not have enough animals anymore, for example, to hunt down. We do not have the crops and so forth. So then Aries chooses to go into war. So just think that we are in a war zone. I mean, this could be one of the meaning of that. Unfortunately, especially with because of some natural resources of the earth, which is pretty much missing there. So some of the keywords to summarize for you as a collective energy, what you need to be working on is ensuring that you are discovering who you are, what you're standing for, and then finding your true identity. So the true identity comes with originality, that you are independent from pretty much everyone in a sense. Uh, you can be in a group setting. That's not a problem. You can be in a relationship. But am I becoming codependent with those people? What makes you angry? But also, this is telling you that, you know what, I cannot do things on my own. Sometimes I need a partner for that as well. Aries is a little bit self-centered side, but it loves leading. And so, but you cannot lead a company on your own, right? So you need someone who is going to give you support. So probably it is teaching you that it's okay to ask for help as well. And if you have got these selfishness, egotistical actions you are making, unfortunately, you will see that people are going to attack you in a sense. So this is telling you to have a courageous, outgoing, brave heart. So standing up for yourself, become fighting for your own survival, become warrior prince somehow. And you know what? I have been swallowing something. Something gets pushed down on my throat, and I haven't rolled up the sleeve and much fight back because I was afraid to be in conflict with others. And the conflict doesn't necessarily mean violence and punching, but I'm going to be expressing my feelings about it, even if it's difficult. I also believe that this would talk to you about getting rid of any of your self-doubts or self-destructive behaviors. And how are you going to do that? And what makes you angry? So this could be a major topic also for you. To actually let that anger out somehow. And we can do that, for example, through physical activities. I believe that this is going to be the rectification of property prices. I still believe that the property prices will go down to make it more affordable. Hopefully, we will see that, for example, stuff like animal rights is going to be becoming a major question. Most likely, refugee questions will be quite heightened, such as are we allowing them to, to be here in this country, or are we going to be sending them back home, or they need to learn a language, or they need to do this and that, because Chiron can represent wisdom. It could talk to you about the number of pensioners, for example, and older age people, and the country is going to start being kind of concerned about it, or the childbirth rate as well. That could be a major topic. And most likely, I feel like the mental health industry is going to grow significantly. So this is what I pretty much see here. Now, briefly, uh, we can go through Chiron in the houses and what you're gonna have to pretty much work with. I mean, I have prepared also this in the webinar as well. You're gonna have this available, as I said, for 25% off if you are curious, but just with few words. So if Chiron is going through your first house, which means that you have got a Aries ascendant, right? Pretty much what I told you in the first part of the lecture is going to be something very relevant for you. It's about increasing your vitality. It's about not hiding anymore. It's about how you feel about yourself. Do I feel ugly? Do I feel beautiful? What you gonna do to feel to make yourself feel better? Are you ashamed of your body? Uh, Often actually, are you afraid or are you ashamed of your roots as well? And then you're gonna have to kind of, make peace with that. But also, do you have the strong desire to figure out your meaning to life? It could definitely talk to you about becoming a fighter rather than being dependent on others. And yes, some of you might be actually getting a divorce, for example, or getting into some type of arguments with others because you want to feel that urge that I want to be growing. Often, actually, this is giving you the idea that I want to prove people wrong, that I'm unable to do something because I can and I trust in myself. And hopefully, what you're going to see is that people are going to start admiring you for your strengths. And you might believe that you are weak, but surely people are going to start seeing that you are kind of bulking up mentally and emotionally as well. This is definitely not a period of time when you have to be neglecting yourself. Yes, relationship issues, unfortunately, can be one of the topic there for you. This is going to push you to start basically fresh, to start a new project on in your life. And when you don't do that, this can actually show that you're going to get sick. You become ill because you are hesitating to make a choice in your life. mentally, physically, emotionally ill, it really depends on the position of your Mars, as well as the sixth house ruler, what is doing in your chart in 2000 and pretty much 24, I would say. So if you have got Chiron transiting your second house, then it means that you have got Pisces rising sign. So just like myself. This is about what makes you feel more secure. Whether it's look, whether it's money, whether it's that you get accepted by others, but most importantly, this is going to talk to you about self-love. So, what you are meant to be doing to feel loved again by yourself. It's going to be asking you to look at your connections with the food as well. Maybe your traumatic experience is coming from the fact that mommy didn't breastfeed you, for example. Maybe if you are about to become a mom, you're going to have breastfeeding issues as well. Of course, second house is about money, right? So it's about fixing your money issues once and for all. Do I owe money to others? Does others owe money to me? It's time to get it back, for example. Actually, Aries tells you to stand up for yourself and then basically beat the shit out of them that you've been owning me money for I don't know how long. And you asked for that money for a week. Now it's been 2 years. I want it back, you know. This is also about your survival needs, the ability to put food on the table, and I've got the right to put food on the table. I've got the right to get, for example, pay rise, and so forth. So this is fixing your self-worth. Surely the physical appearance is going to become a big one here as well. Or what do you value in life? Do I value always the money, or do I value something which is above the physical assets of my life? And that could talk to you about spiritual assets too. This is also about sharing. So, do I have got the ability to share something with others? Do I actually share way too much? Because Pisces rising sign is a very charitable sign, right? And then it can be taken away from you. So this North Node Chiron conjunction might want to teach you to say no to something. And maybe this is also going to tell you that it's time to save some money. And that is also very, very, very important. It can even talk to you about relationship matters too. You might have been struggling with relationships due to lack of self-love, by the way. Guess what? Someone might come around who is giving you a bit of healing. Maybe it's about discovering some of your talents. If you've got Chiron going through your third house, then it means that you have got uh, Aquarius rising sign. Oh, no, that's not right. Oh, yeah, of course, it's right. So, Chiron going through your third house, you've got an Aquarius rising sign. Sorry about that. So, it is about fixing something to do with your intellect. Maybe you don't feel smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not clever enough. I have got learning difficulties. People do not understand me, and I do not understand others. Oh, I cannot learn a new language, for example. I do not have talents. These are some of the things you're going to have to fix here. Maybe you feel that you are not heard or seen by others, and it's about claiming a spot somehow among your friends and the neighborhood and so forth. You know what? It's kind of like the sibling rivalry as well. I've always, maybe the childhood one is something to do with the sibling was always better than me. Now I'm gonna have to, claim that favoritism in a sense. We can actually think about that way too. If you are at school, you might feel like that you're getting bullied at school, or you have been bullied by your sibling. Now it is about proving that you can also be as good as your sibling as well. It might be about that you have been suffocated or silenced by others and you're going to start speaking up. But you might be too rational, and then you do not allow your intuitive side to kind of fly into your body. Maybe your words were ignored or are being ignored. And then you feel like that your opinion is not important. And then it's about standing up and making sure that others are actually hearing you. Maybe you have accepted that you have been verbally insulted, then this is going to tell you, no, 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 I do not allow anymore anyone to verbally insult me because I am strong. And repeat that sentence, I am strong. I've got strong mental energies and I can fight back with words. So it's about learning to speak up, learning to speak. This is going to be very important. But remember, speaking loudly and demanding attention are not the same, though. You can scream and people still not hear you. So it might be about what you have got to say. Chiron does not speak much. But when it speaks, wow, that's powerful. And everyone is going to pay attention to them. If you have got Chiron going through your fourth house, it means that you have got Capricorn rising sign. So your wounds are going to be related to your family. Maybe you went through a very difficult childhood and then it's time to let go of that. Maybe you are unable to find confinement in the family. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to walk away from it? Are you going to create a new family? Or are you going to go back to the foundation and then we're going to try to strengthen them? Maybe actually you were alienated by your family. Making peace with that, letting go of that, letting go of the past. You know what? The deepest part of your wound is, the deepest part of your soul is very wounded here. This is a difficult, challenging transit, by the way. So, overcoming these early childhood experiences and hardship, and then seeing them as a talent, such as, whatever happened to me, it made me stronger. It made me who I am. And it's time to show that to the world. Yes, my childhood experiences were all filled with uncertainty, but now I'm going to start working on my emotional foundation and it's going to become certain. You know what? It could talk to you about discovering some family secrets as well. Also, this is the house of attachment styles from a psychological perspective. What type of attachment styles do I have? Is it the right style for me? You might be caretaking of your parents. Your parents might get sick as well, unfortunately. And also, you might have been struggling with sleeping problems. Then it's time to fix that for yourself as well. Maybe you have been emotionally clingy. Well, this is a time when I have to realize that clinginess is just not working. Maybe you are not satisfied with what you are given, such as by work or by just other people overall or professionally. Well, you know what? Then I've got the right to take it away. Simple as that. So it is making your emotional foundation a lot stronger. And yes, there is possibilities where we feel like kind of like alienated in our home country, and the solution is that I'm gonna be moving somewhere else. Yes, some of you, unfortunately, probably a small percentage though, but becoming homeless, that's a possibility as well in a negative way. And then obviously your inner safety is kind of shaken up there, whether you feel unlovable, often that's the problem with Chiron going through the fourth house. And then therefore, uh, how you project yourself onto the society is that they see a very weak person. That's very possible. And whether you are trying to detach yourself from your own instincts, your intuition, then it's time to get in touch with your intuition. If you've got Chiron going through your fifth house, it means that you have got Sagittarius rising sign. So in that case, your deepest wounds are related to the inner child who got hurt. that needs to be worked through. And you get the opportunity with this conjunction. You know what? I'm allowed to be unique. I'm allowed to put, for example, my sexuality, my talent, and so forth on a stage. I don't need to be ashamed of that anymore. You know what? I can be as playful as a child, even as an adult, if I want to. Uh, Sometimes this is coming from betrayal. Maybe a parent betrayed us, maybe a parent who passed away, but also it could be a romantic partner. Some of you might be, for example, healing fertility issues. That could be a topic for you. Maybe you feel like I'm not allowed to have fun, right? And then it is telling you that, hell yeah, I can have fun. I can be a child. I have to find time for myself to have fun, or I don't need to depend on fun with others. Maybe the problem is that, I don't know, you have got your obligations. Often that's the problem. I mean, Saturn is the pretty much a detrimental corula of Aries. So you might, and then look at where Saturn is. I mean, Saturn rules your third house, for example. Then, oh, I'm not allowed to have fun without my siblings. That could be a major topic for Sagittarius rising sign this way. Or I am not allowed to travel far, way too far because my romantic partner cannot travel. So that is telling you that this needs to be fixed here. You're going to have to take that seriously. I just love using the detrimental rule of each sign, just because what it does is that you can see where the issues are coming. For example, in the case of the fifth house. So the fifth house is, because Saturn rules here, the second and the third house. It might be coming from that, oh, money type of issues, right? So that's why I do not have fun. That could be one of the excuses what we make. But really, every single fun is dependent on money, right? Or the reason why I'm not taking risks, fifth house, because my sibling is telling me not to do. So of course I'm getting held back by them, or just the fact that, oh, you know what, the survival instinct. I need to be able to spend money on more important things because the second house cusp is quite Capricornian, right? So it's a little bit rigid about money. But the Aries cusp on the fifth wants to spend money like there is no tomorrow. It wants to be burning the money in the pocket for fun things. And definitely, this is something between 2018 to 2026 you're gonna have to fix. The fertility issue, it might be I cannot get pregnant because subconsciously I'm afraid that I do not have money, right? Second house. Or I've got an elderly sibling. They need to get pregnant before me. How it wouldn't be nice, right, to get pregnant earlier than my older sister, for example. These are all belief systems. Remember, Chiron is a belief system. So you are allowed to have fun, but also it's about going on a stage as well. So why am I afraid to go on a stage? Is that because of my sibling? Is that because of money? Or is that because of self-worth? Because I've got some shame around who I really am. It could talk to you about figuring out why you have got issues of committing to a relationship, why I'm not doing things which I truly love. Why am I not doing sport, for example, when I know it's actually good for me? Because Aries is about muscle as well. Why do I have stage fright? Why I cannot be spontaneous? And why do I have got some type of blockages of my personal freedom? Yeah, pretty much. So if you have got Chiron going through your sixth house, it means that you have got a Scorpio rising sign. So now it might be very much about that you losing power and you getting criticized by other people, and you are afraid, you are maybe a little bit suspicious that people are here to kind of catch you out. If you are getting, for example, scrutinized by others, it's most likely either your siblings or your family. So maybe you were scrutinized as a child, and that's what made you a bit more kind of cautious about things, not necessarily taking initiatives and so forth, or that led to some type of perfectionism. And then what Chiron wants to teach you is that nothing is perfect in this lifetime, right? So we're going to have to accept the world with its imperfection because that's what makes it perfect. Maybe it's about the fact that I lost a pet. Shall I replace that? Shall I heal my heart by having a new pet? Of course, the sixth house is something to do with health issues as well. Now, maybe the health issues of the parents, and therefore it reminds us that, you know what, we are getting old and that we need to be looking after ourselves by going to the gym, changing our lifestyle, changing our eating habits, pretty much changing our routines. That's what we're going to have to pay attention to. Some of you might be going through the menopause, for example, especially probably if you have got Chiron return happening, which is around the age of 48, 50-ish, then that could be a something there. But also maybe it's a little bit, you know what, if I heal myself inside, then most likely I can start the healing journey on the outer surface as well. Maybe you are unable to loosen up, and that's the problem here. You take everything too seriously. Then Chiron is telling you to lose up a little bit. You know, it's okay to, to have stuff to do outside of your own routines as well. So definitely lifestyle changes could be. The other one is providing help to others, but also asking for help when it's needed. I mean, that's an issue for Scorpio. They are not that trustful. They are struggling to ask for help from others. Okay. So maybe that's what exactly this Chiron North Node conjunction wants to teach you. Maybe you just realize that bloody hell, my job is so boring. It does not fulfill me anymore. So I want to be finding something which is actually gonna be giving me more fulfillment, more meaning. Maybe just the coworkers are giving me a little bit of a hard time, and I'm getting tired of that. Everyone gets promoted around me, but me. Right? Scorpio rising sign wants to have power. Maybe you just cannot tolerate the fact that everyone is pretty lazy around you, and I'm getting tired of that. Maybe you feel judged because of your appearance. That's a possibility also. If you have got Chiron going through your seventh house, it means that you have got Libra rising sign. So, you know what? This is going to be relationship for you. So, fixing your relationship problems. Maybe it's related to codependency. I really recommend listening to the first part of the lecture when we are not talking about the signs, because most of those are going to be related to you. Maybe you feel betrayed by the partner. Maybe why I'm not able to trust the partner. Maybe why I'm unwanted, feeling rejected all the time. Maybe why am I not being able to go on a date? Why I am not able to commit to someone? Maybe, you know what, people are just cruel. And obviously, a Libra rising sign gets sensitive about it. And then maybe I decide that my response is going to be kind of cruel as well. Maybe you decided a long time ago that I don't believe in true love anymore. However, every single love story comes in different shapes, forms, and styles, right? Or you feel like that you had to sacrifice so much for your love life, and then you're getting tired of it because you got forgotten. Uh, or you forgot who you are by being together with someone. So these are relationship topics, but listen to the first part of the lecture because that's going to be helping you to understand what is it that you're going through in the next most likely 18 months. If Chiron is going through your eighth house, then it means that you have got a Virgo rising sign. So your wounds are somehow connected to losses, death, the loss of someone, or just going through a transformation, and basically money as well. Maybe you are having a little bit of a trouble of intimacy. Now, that is coming from the fact that probably you have got some trust issues. Maybe you want to be preparing for these intimacy sessions, for example. Maybe actually you are grieving about something. Maybe you feel dissatisfied when it comes to your sexual life, and then it is telling you that it's time to get satisfied. Maybe you feel like that you are a possession of someone, that you are a slave in your relationship. Virgo rising, unfortunately, tends to do that quite a lot, right? So I do not want to be a slave anymore. So struggles in the relationship, going through crisis situations as well, unfortunately. And maybe you're going to start thinking about how to become financially independent because, or maybe your partner is dependent on you and on your finances. And I'm just getting tired of that. Maybe it's about wanting to pay off your debts. Maybe you want to be taking a little bit more financial risks as well. Watch out for your karmic debts as well as just debts, which can be related to, like bank loans and mortgages and so forth, because that could be an issue. But also, it is about karmic debts as well. So paying someone must pay something back to you, karmically speaking, or you having to pay something back to others. So there is this helping nature. But remember that this is a balance, Virgo rising, right? Because it's about giving and receiving, not just about giving all the time. Maybe you are afraid of dying. Maybe you go through a near-death experience as well, and that's going to be changing you completely. Maybe you're going to be having an operation and then you are afraid of that. But surely this would talk to you about having deeper connections with others somehow. And also at the same time is the realization that death is inevitable. It's gonna happen. So why are we afraid of that? Right? And knowing that fear is taking over our lives. It's about digging deep, psychologically speaking, kind of like scrutinizing all your emotional pain, where you have been hurt, why you have got your trust issues, and then going through that psychological cleansing. It's kind of like the PTSD, pretty much how I would compare it with Chiron going through here. So that is something to work through. If you have got Chiron going through your ninth house, then it means that you have got Leo rising sign. And I recommend listening to the third house as well, because you might be having some ideas you can utilize also in your own life. But somehow it is telling you that your wounds are in your head. You're going to have to transform your belief system. Maybe you have been very pessimistic about starting something, initiating something new. And you know what? It's half a winning when I have got a positive mindset. And that's the realization. Maybe it's about fixing some of your religious trauma. Maybe you lost faith in God, or you lost faith in astrology and all those type of things. It's not about changing of religion. It's maybe the changing the person who does the reading for you, or changing, the way how you look at religion and so forth. Maybe you dropped out of school previously and then you are ashamed of that, and then you decide you're going to go back to study something. Maybe it's about finding a guru, a teacher who is going to guide you through this painful period, and they're going to be teaching you about where to go, how to do certain things so you can feel more content about yourself. Um, it could also indicate that maybe you don't believe in your own judgment anymore because your hunches, were not right in the past. So, what is my spiritual blockage? And that could be something to fix here. Maybe actually you feel that people are not listening to you. You are judged by others as well, maybe judged by parents, for example, or you are comparing yourself to others. And that's something you're going to have to start uh, kind of like to stop. Maybe you got stuck in your head, you have got some mental health issues. You feel like you cannot learn something new. You feel like, no, I'm too old to study or something like that. Forget about it. If you feel that you are young, then you are young. If you feel that you are old, then you are old. So start calling yourself young again because you can do that. Obviously, we're talking about pain here, and the pain needs to be worked through spiritually as well. Maybe it's about daring to get in touch with your inner child and with your childhood dreams. I wanted to do salsa. Maybe I'm not going to be a salsa dancer anymore, but I'm going to go back in and I'm going to do some salsa dancing because that makes me feel happy. So, what is making me feel happy? What is that step which is going to take me one step closer to my spiritual journey? Right? Maybe you were forced to take on a religious belief, and now you're going to change your belief system about it. Maybe we're talking about your visions, that you were not daring to dream about something better to come around your life. I mean, remember, ninth house is trining the first house. So this could be an auspicious time, especially if your rising sign is somewhere between, let's say, 13 to 19 degrees, then it could be a very auspicious time to even go towards your working through your karmic pains and create something unbelievably good for yourself. But it is asking you to trust your judgment a little bit as well, or to have someone you can look up to, someone who is going to motivate you. So if you have got Chiron going through your 10th house, then basically it's very much about healing your. Oh, by the way, that it means that you have got Cancer rising sign. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. It means that you're going to have to heal your reputation and your career path. Maybe you have had so much problem going through at work. Maybe you're doing a work you hate. Maybe you feel like a pushover at work. Maybe your reputation was at risk, maybe because of other people and so on, but somehow your wounds might be related to your career choices. What's the solution? I'm going to be brave to change my work. Maybe it's parental issue. I mean, the 10th house can represent parents as well, right? So it could talk to you about thinking about how my parents are affecting my career, how they shaped my career. Am I following their footsteps? I don't know. My father was a farmer. I'm also a farmer, but I never wanted to be a farmer. Or my father was always out of job, and then I learned how to be out of job as well for such a long time. But I don't want to be out of job. Then it's daring to take a job on. Maybe you were dominated by your parents, and then now you've got a domineering partner for it. Cancer often just stays at home, right? But we have got the desire to be out there, to become a healer, for example, and so forth. So who is dragging you down? That could be a major question here for you. Maybe you want to get now respect from others, and you're going to start hitting the table that, you know what, I cook at home, I do this and that, and I want respect. I want at least a thank you for it. If that's what you want, stand up for yourself and then express it. Uh, I mean, most of you, I feel like it's gonna be about the lack of life purpose, and it is asking you to get going and figure out who you can be. And you might want to be looking at your natal Chiron position because that could give you an idea of who you can become if you hear that area of life. Basically, it means that that house is going to be running on a higher vibration. It is telling you that you must help yourself first, and then the things are going to come together, and then you can actually help healing others too. Maybe you are afraid of publicity. I mean, Cancer is not the most visible sign overall. So being afraid of publicity, and then you are meant to be healing that part that, okay, I'm all fine of standing on a stage alone and showing some leadership qualities as well. Maybe you feel that you are a slave to your family, but you want to be breaking the chain. This can give you the opportunity to do that. If Chiron is going through your 11th house, it means that you have got Gemini rising sign. So your wounds might be connected to friends and hopes. So it might be, for example, that you feel like that the people around you are shady, the people around you don't stick around for a long time, and then basically your friend circle is changing continuously. And obviously, Gemini is all about curiosity, and then it's able to talk to anyone. But you might start missing that I want some serious friends in my life too. And maybe what you see is that my serious friends are abroad, for example, because the detrimental ruler of Aries is Saturn, which is ruling the ninth house here. Everyone is abroad, and I'm missing my friends. So I wish to be reunited with them. And it is telling you, why don't you travel and go and then do that? So Chiron in the 11th house with North Node wants to belong to someone. So it might be about meeting a important person in your life as well. But also some of you might experience that, but I'm not that important to my friend, but I would do anything for them. I would be crossing fires if that was the question. This could also talk about you feeling excluded by like group of people or political matters, such as imagine that I don't know, there is going to be a regulation and then it applies to I don't know 90% of the people, the majority of the people, but some of you, and then you get kind of angry about it, and then you're going to demonstrate about it and so forth. And obviously, Gemini is going to start speaking about it, posting on social media, and all those type of things to kind of fire up others, to kind of create a community who is going to stand up for their own rights. Maybe actually you never wanted to go on social media, which it's hard to imagine with a Gemini. So let's just tweak on that sentence. Maybe you could not achieve that popularity on social media what we wanted with it. And then Chiron wants you to change your tactics about it. How am I gonna do that? I'm gonna try something new. Maybe it can bring you that breakthrough through social media. Maybe you have been struggling to publish a book of yours, and then now you're gonna be able to. But also it could bring in some trust issues when it comes to friends as well. Obviously, Saturn also rules the eighth house here, which could indicate a trust. Or you just a little bit cautious about the future. Can I trust the future? And that this is telling you to start thinking that the universe is having my back. That's what Saturn is actually trying to teach you here, actually. Maybe very easy to get into trouble for example, putting something on social media. So you might want to be just a little bit careful about, kind of like what you posting. Obviously, also whether it's believing what type of stuff I believe on social media as well. Gemini is social media, and the 11th house is also related to social media. So this could be a topic for you in the upcoming especially couple of years, I would say, while the nodes as well as Chiron are pretty close to each other. Maybe it's about how you withdraw yourself from emotions. Maybe you feel like that, what my future is. Well, it's never going to work for me. Being pessimistic about your future. How are you going to heal that part of you? Because pessimism is only going to be leading to kind of like a negative future. So this is telling you that it's important to have a more positive mindset. Also, this could be about that no one wants to accept my unique approach in this world. Maybe it's a work-related matter also. Maybe it's about accepting that I'm only gonna get always the minimum wage and I have to cope with that. Aries says, no, we don't accept crap like that. We gonna fight for what's right for you. Of course, there is always the greedy side of that, you know, which we need to be careful. We only get what our mind allows us. So that something needs to be looked at. Gemini rising is the mind. It tells you it's in your head. Maybe you get involved way too much with political matters, and that is poisoning your life. And maybe you are worried because of the political situations, for example, in your country. Now, unfortunately, that is a possibility too here. In very negative ways, it could talk to you about a loss of a friend as well, or a loss of an important figure in your life, some from the community, for example, a sibling, not necessarily a family member, however, that could also be in the picture as well. So I just want you to do that. Maybe you feel rejected by a group of people. Again, this genderism and identity questions can belong here as well, but I've already spoken about that at the beginning of the lecture. So if you want to know a bit more about that, go back and please listen back to that. And also, it could be something to do with social anxiety and how you're gonna claim your own power back. Typically, this is not an issue for Gemini rising sign, though. However, Gemini does rule the nerve system, so it could talk to us about, just issues around anxiety overall. And I need to be putting that on the forefront. I'm gonna have to accept that that's me as well, the anxious me, but maybe I'm able to help others with sharing my own story. Also, this is about knowing that I'm only going to be healing when I have got goals in life. I cannot walk around aimlessly. I think this is probably the most important message for you for 2024. Please have a goal. Start with a small one. Have a winning mindset. Once you have got a winning mindset, once you want something, then you can come with the next goal. Do it in baby steps. Remember the baby, how long it takes for them to walk. And Aries is a baby sign, right? It's the first 18 months of our year. So we don't get everything immediately as a baby either. Very important. Oh, and then of course, there is the expressing your originality as well, by, I don't know, publishing an original piece of yours, for example, whether it's a book or some just artistry, for example, but how you can share your originality with others. And finally, if Chiron is going through your 12th house, then it means that you have got a Taurus rising sign. So, well, there are some fears which are buried in your mind and they need to be digged up. Maybe it's self-worth related, maybe it's finance related. Of course, Taurus rising sign is very curious about financials and stability, but clearly something is not stable in your psyche, and that's what you're going to have to work on. This is your deepest wounds, which are about maybe about the experiences you had just before you were born, when you were in the womb of your mom, for example. It is about, you know what, Taurus rising sign is so materialistic, but Chiron wants you to have a little bit more spiritual awareness because spirituality can make us suffer, don't get me wrong, but also it can uplift us as well. When we believe in something, when we have got some guiding element right in front of us, you need that. Maybe, Taurus who can just focus on building things and saving money and, working. Chiron can make you quite a loner here, all about privacy. So if that's the case, this Chiron might want you to start thinking about why I'm so lonely. This is also the 12th house is being cheated on, for example, the love triangles. If you are getting cheated on, Taurus rising is because there is some issues with intimacy, or there is some issue about self-love, and that's going to be the stuff you're gonna have to remember, and you're gonna have to heal here. Maybe the fact that you are allowing to be manipulated. I mean, Taurus is Venusian sign, so can represent codependency. But also, it is telling you to start sensing other people's motives, other people's pain as well. If they want to manipulate you, how are you going to stand up and then get your own power back? How are you not going to be taken advantage of? You know what? It might be about the fact that you are attracting lovers, but you cannot attract a serious relationship. And then you want to figure out why. Obviously, it's in your psyche, the 12th house says, with Chiron North Node there. So it's about, again, the spiritual awareness. And I'm going to kind of find that. Also, definitely, it tells you that you are a softie at heart. And it might want you to toughen up a slightly bit, not to get too agitated by other people's opinion and so forth. And also, you might think that your feelings are not validated. I mean, Taurus exaltation ruler is the moon, but it's all about the material memories, such as, oh, I was given a letter once, a love letter, and so forth. Sometimes we live in the past with that. And Chiron in the 12th house can really talk about the ancestral karma. So we are stuck in the past here. And Aries needs to move forward, that wants to go towards a future. So make baby steps to go ahead as well. And that's definitely about working through some of your fears as well. Often you might be in the shadow of others. And this is telling you that I can do things on my own too. Maybe you feel kind of like you are a part of a witch hunt, and how to kind of stop chasing you around. Yes, this could talk about mental health problems and then working them through, especially connected to self-love, the body, uh, whether we love how we look like, your sensuality, and to get in touch with your feelings. But also, it can talk to you about physical health as well, that you are visiting hospitals. And that's also one of the reasons why we need a bit of spiritual awareness so that we can heal that part of ourselves. Maybe this is talking to you about inherited problems or just some type of generational problems overall. Also, Taurus is very materialistic. The 12th house here in this case is guarding the emotions. Chiron says it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to get in touch with your emotions, and it is okay to how much of a strength it is to show that you can be weak as well. That needs a tremendous amount of power, and people will start seeing that. Also, it could indicate that you got hurt before and then you started pulling up a barrier. And Taurus likes building. So we just build those walls higher and higher and higher. And then it can be so high that you feel like you are in your own prison. And then it is asking you then, how are you going to knock down that wall, that prison? How are you going to get out of it? This is like a being locked up in a golden cage. Maybe we've got a perfect relationship, we've got kids, we've got a good job, but I still feel like I'm in prison. So it's about figuring out why I feel like it. So, guys, this is my forecast for 2024 about Chiron and North Node conjunction. The next video is going to be about Pluto-Jupiter cycle because we're going to have a trine happening between them in 2024. So we want to be exploring that a little bit more as well. But it's in the next video. If you would like to learn more about Chiron, I recommend checking out my Chiron package. Remember, it's on 25% discount. You will be able to see the discount code at the beginning of the video on the screen. Just gonna have to type it in at the checkout and check out my upcoming progression course as well. Thank you, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.